Hello and welcome to this week's IGTV. I am talking about how to teach your teenager about self-care. Everything from getting enough sleep to eating healthy food to exercise and moving their body, and how do you do it without shaming them so they actually listen to you without feeling lectured. This is something I get comments about often, and so I wanted to post a quick IGTV. I know I'm normally here tomorrow on Thursdays, but I am leaving on a jet plane tomorrow morning. So I am doing this now, today, so that I can have something up this week anyway. Let's talk about teenagers and self-care. Now, if you're like me, a teenager is so, in your experience, teenagers are so independent-minded. They want nothing to do with anything that their parents say, especially if their parents say it might be good for them. Woo! They are running away like their hair is on fire. Because they're all about fierce independence. They're going to do it my way. You're not the boss of me and all of that stuff. So I'm going to give you some tips today around physical self-care, emotional self-care, and mental self-care that I have used in my house and with some people in my life. I have this weird piece of little bangs here, and I don't know why. It's deciding to stick out, so I know I have a little wing. We're going with it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach. I've been doing this for 15 years, working with parents and teens to end the painful disconnection, stressful silences, and emotional blow-ups to create relationships built on trust and respect. I personally have a massive bent for health, and ironically, married to a 3-time Olympian and silver medalist for 25 years. So I know a lot about how to create healthy things in ways that are simple and fun, but also I have a teenager who's super picky, literally thinks he will die if fruit or vegetables touch his body. And then I've got one who tries anything. So I want to talk to you today, not from the perspective that you have the teenager that is super healthy and already athletic necessarily, but how to invite them into this process. So the number one thing that I want to tell you is the message I get from parents. How do I help my teenager understand that when they stay up all night, they're tired the next day and then they're a complete bear, and not lecture them about their sleep? How do I have my teenager understand that when they eat junk food all weekend, they are grumpier and then I have to deal with them without telling them what to eat and what not to eat necessarily, and coming across as lecturing and controlling? And this is a very common question. And I think the biggest thing to know is, first of all, is you can't control what your teenager is going to do. I mean, you can try, but controlling what they're doing isn't going to work necessarily. But what you can do is teach them, because what's more important here relative to self-care, especially in this world right now, is that your teenager understands how to listen to their body, gets permission from you to listen to their body, to normalize self-care, whatever that looks like for them, and equip them for future years, rather than you telling your teenager what self-care needs to look like, and then they fight against it, because that's what teenagers do, and choose things that are knowingly unhealthy, which they're probably going to do anyway. So let's move past that. Okay, so let's start with physical health, just physical body health. Before I jump in, I want to tell you a quick story about when my kids were little. So if you know someone with little kids, this might be helpful to them. I actually have a post about this. I was a very athletic teenager. I was in sports all the time. And again, I married a 3-time Olympian and silver medalist. So our life was all about sports and health. But we lived below the poverty line, or very close, for about 5 years. And so there was absolutely no financial room for a gym membership, for childcare while I was at the gym. Like that was 100% just not happening. So what I used to do when the kids were little is I would let this 1 hour a day be their TV time. And I would use half an hour of that watching, I think it was Dora the Explorer or Bernstein Bears. And they would get on the couch and I would be in the living room with them on the carpet, on my yoga mat, doing Pilates, where like I had it all written out. So I didn't need the TV because there was, well, cell phones. Anyway, long story. I had it written out so that I could do my routine and they were on the couch watching TV. Now, if you've had little kids or a pet, you know the first time that they're going to come and want to dive on you or snuggle with you is when you're trying to do something yourself. Can I get an amen? Like, that's when your kid is going to want to try and jump all over you, is when you are trying to do a workout or something meaningful for yourself. So here's what I told my kids. The couch was the ship, and they were safe in the ship. The carpet on the living room floor was the ocean, and I was the shark. So if they got off the boat onto there, I got to tickle them. And the couch was close enough to, it was right next to the hardwood floor as well, so they could get off the ship, go across the hardwood to the bathroom if they needed the bathroom. That was fine. They weren't like trapped on the couch. Not that they were going anywhere for half an hour watching their favorite show. But that was a way where I gave myself permission for self-care as a parent. And by the way, one of those days I was looking after 2 other kids. I had 4 kids under 5 and I did this with them. This was their half hour on the couch. It was the ship where I worked out so that I made myself a priority. Let's talk about that for a second. Are you modeling making yourself a priority for your teenagers? Because none of this is going to work if you are running around like a crazy person, unregulated emotionally because you're so stressed out and you are not making time for yourself physically, because we're talking about physical health right now, but you want your teenager to make room for themselves physically. So you really have to model what it is that you want. Now, even after those years, I'm just getting my tea here. Even after those years, I still, we got a used treadmill off like the Kijiji for like $50. It was really old, but I would still go in the basement for half an hour and I would do my run. And my kids knew because they were allowed down there to play with me, but we had a rule that they couldn't come near, for safety, their fingers, they couldn't come near the treadmill. So they always have grown up in an environment where, for the most part, I have made my own physical health a priority and found ways to include them in it so they see it is good to make your physical health a priority. Now, when my kids got older and they were teenagers, and I would take them to outdoor activities, like my youngest son played outdoor lacrosse, or my oldest son would go skiing or snowboarding, I would take my snowshoes. I do ski, but it was expensive for me to ski. So I would take my snowshoes and I would snowshoe for an hour and a bit and before bringing him home. And when my youngest was at lacrosse, outdoor lacrosse, I would drop him off. I had workout gear in my car. I'm not joking you. I would go over to the far end of the field with my workout gear, my bands, and a couple weights, and I would do my running, and then I would put my bands through the chain link fence, and I would do my workouts using bands all right there while he was practicing. And when I took him to Taekwondo, he was in Taekwondo for years. I would sometimes be in the room in the back and just doing like stretching or basic moves, just of making time. You have to model making time for self-care if you want your teenagers to make time for self-care. Now, as far as physical health, we have always said to our kids that they need to be involved in some form of activity on a daily basis that gets them at least half an hour of activity. Now, they did walk to and from school, so sure, and then there's outside time at school. We did have a trampoline for a while. Yeah, you work out in the far field as they practice. That's so great. We had a trampoline for a little while when they were younger, so that counted as exercise. It didn't need to be playing an organized sport. It didn't need to be a team sport. My oldest son is very introverted, and so he's always been very, very active. But he liked independent things. Great. Whereas my youngest has been very much involved in team sports. Great. So, it didn't matter what it was, and we weren't like policing it, okay? So please, if you're coming with the word enforcing this, that's not what we're doing. Enforcing anything is the opposite of encouraging. Enforcing, I'm actually going to write that down. Enforcing is the opposite of to encourage. So you're not enforcing anything, okay? You're encouraging it. Now, if your child is not already active and you are concerned about them, I get messages like this all the time, you're concerned about their physical health and you want to start to promote better physical health, then you can say to your teen, not telling them what to do. It's not going to work. I go back to, what are you modeling? Are you making time for your physical health? And how are you modeling that for them? So one of the things I would say is, if you are going to start modeling physical health, then you talk about it to your teen or to your child. And you say, hey guys, like I joined the gym, or I've decided I'm going to go for a walk, a half-hour walk every day. Or I've decided I'm going to do whatever. If you want to join me, feel free. And of course, they probably won't, and that's okay. But when you become consistent with this physical health care, you are modeling for them, making the time for yourself to create physical health. Then you can start to say to your teenagers, not because you're lecturing, but because you are willing to walk that path yourself, pardon the pun, you can say, man, I notice I feel whatever. I notice my brain feels clearer. I notice after a walk, I just feel less stressed. I notice I sleep better when on the days I go for a walk. I notice I'm walking farther and faster than I was in the beginning. And I'm really proud of that. So you have to let them in on what you're doing and keep the invitation open. If it's a weekend or they don't have anything on a weeknight, hey, do you want to come for a walk with me? Maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no. Don't expect them to do it with you necessarily, and don't expect them to talk the whole time, okay? Teenagers do a lot of processing, and that's okay. So you need to model the physical health and be doing it with you. Oh, that's so cool. Yes, having a talk with your boys about family outdoor time. Yes, whatever outside. Exactly. So again, if you have a trampoline, you could have family time on the trampoline. Maybe you're not home. Maybe you have to work. That's all good. We have slowly over the years collected, through Kijiji or used places, we have significant weights and stuff now. So during COVID, we told our teenagers were older, and we said, no, you have to be active a minimum of 45 minutes a day. And we all started doing family workouts together, and our boys would go for jogs together. And it became actually a really fun thing that we did together. Sometimes I'd put on my 20-minute workout videos, and we would do those and then go for a walk. Or It can be throwing frisbee. We love playing frisbee in our house. So we can go just to the park and play frisbee together. We live in Canada, so it's, snowy and wintry out a good part of the year. So we have to find activities that are adapted to that. My whole point is this: you need to lead the way. It will not work for you to lecture them into physical health. You need to lead them into physical health by doing it yourself without weird expectations that they're just going to do it with you or do it because you're doing it. That's not how it rolls. You model it and lead it, constantly sharing and involving your teenager in how you feel about it and what you're learning about yourself. Maybe you don't like walking. Maybe you only like running. I don't know. Maybe you're like, yeah, I don't like that. I decided I'm going to get a skipping rope and do skipping instead. I don't know. But you let your teenager in on how are you feeling and thinking differently because of this physical exercise. That is what modeling it looks like. Now, let's talk about food, because I get messages from parents all the time about how do I get my teenager to eat healthier, because it's going down a really bad path. So I'm going to say again, you can't lecture them into this. You have to lead them into this. So you need to start the process. How do you eat? What do you eat? And how are you going to lead this process? So let's say you are going to start having more salad or start having more vegetables, or maybe eating lower carbs, or I don't know, whatever. Don't be unreasonable, okay? Don't be cray-cray on this. Be healthy. Be reasonable. Have your bowl of chips, have your little bit of candy, whatever. Be balanced. But you have to lead it. And then when you do, you have to say to your teenager, I've decided this is what I'm going to do. And maybe it's smaller portions, maybe it's whatever. And then you have to let your teenager in on your process and be like, I've noticed since I'm doing more of whatever, having more vegetables, I have more energy in the day, or my brain is clearer, or maybe number 2 is happening a little better, whatever. But you have to tell your teenager, how is this impacting you? And then what are you changing and shifting? I notice I'm still hungry a lot, so I'm going to have to add something else. Or this is a dinner that I'd like us all to try. It's got my new favorite stuff, whatever. But you have to lead the way, and you have to tell your teenager, I notice I'm sleeping a lot better since I started eating this way. I notice I have more energy. I have more mental clarity through the day. Particularly if I'm drinking too much coffee, which this is not coffee, this is my tea. I do not drink coffee. So again, lead over lecture, okay? With food, you have to be very careful, because especially teenage girls, they can take it as shaming, body shaming. So you have to be really careful. This is not about achieving a certain size. It's not about looking a certain way. This is truly about feeling healthy in your body. That's all it is. Feeling healthy in your body. You're not necessarily aiming for a specific result, unless you are. But that's your journey. Okay. So make food fun. Have your teenagers start to become involved in cooking, which is a necessary life skill anyway. And they get to pick 1 meal a week, and then they have to participate in helping cook it. That's another great way to teach them about nutrition and food, and check in with them. How do you feel? Do you notice how you feel after you eat a certain thing? You would be shocked the number of teenagers that have no body awareness. They have very little body awareness because they've never taken that time or been asked, well, how do you feel in your body after you eat that? I noticed, I just don't feel good after I eat that. If she doesn't eat enough, yeah, and that can be another thing, but the more you lecture, it will not work. You can have the food that she likes, healthy, balanced food that she likes in the fridge. She can help you prepare some of it on Sundays if it will last in the fridge for a couple days. And but if you are constantly lecturing, unless she is on a specific eating regime because of an eating disorder or something, your lecturing is not helping. It's not helping. You start to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Stop. Stop. If you're eating, you can say to her, hey, I'm having some of this. Do you want some? That's it. But the lecturing doesn't work. It's not teaching her to understand and listen to her body. So you could say instead to her, what does your body need right now? Maybe it's not food. Maybe she says, I'm tired. Okay. Are you tired because you didn't get enough sleep, or are you tired because you don't have enough nutrition? And let her answer. Like we have to teach our body, our teenagers to have some body awareness if we are going to build healthy people. So telling them what their body needs is not working. It's not working. Like you can have basic nutrition guides that say, well, your body needs this many calories per day, or your brain needs this much sleep per day. That's great. But helping them develop this body awareness matters more than you lecturing them about what they need. Okay? So around food, be really cautious. Especially with teenage girls, teenage boys too, but be really cautious. Teenage boys often want to go to the gym. They want to build muscle. They want to buy things like protein powder, creatinine, all those things. There's nothing wrong with any of those. Again, I've been married for 25 years to a 3-time Olympian. I get this. I will always believe you when you tell me something going on. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so great, Anna. I will believe whatever you tell me is going on, whatever your body tells you. And that's critical to help our kids develop body awareness. Instead of telling them, say to them, if they're a little bit off, or because teenagers are often in a state of fight or flight, they're emotionally reactive. That's a function of their brain. To say to them, what do you need right now? What does your body need right now? Because what do you need right now might be a brain thinking answer. What does your body need right now is a separate question. Does your body need a nap? Teenagers are literally always tired. They could sleep for days, but they don't. Is your body hungry? What does your body need right now? And to start asking them these questions to build it. So that's the food, the nutrition part of the physical health, okay? Is you can start to talk about food, but you have to lead. Lead, don't lecture. Invite them into what you're doing with your health, and invite them into finding out about balanced meals and food. Try and have the food that they like and that they will eat that's healthy in the house, but make them part of that. You don't do it all for them. No. They can spend some time with you on a Saturday or a Sunday when they've got time or whatever, and spend half an hour preparing some of the food that they like in the week so that it's readily available. And asking them, what does your body need right now? What is your body telling you right now? And then you can, again, involve them in the cooking, all of those kinds of things, okay? By trying different foods. My sister was really good with this with her kids. They tried one different food a week. Even if it's just one little teeny, try different foods. And asking them, like, how did you feel after dinner last night? I felt really gross. I don't know what I ate, but something about that didn't work for me. Just basic body awareness. Okay, so that's the physical part. Let's talk about emotional self-care. Again, if you are stressed out all the time and you are emotionally reactive all the time and you're running around like this, but you're trying to tell your teenager that they need to be less reactive and they need to be more regulated and they need a better self-care routine, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. It just won't. If you model having a nap, a 20-minute just quiet time, are you modeling things like prayer, meditation, yoga, like some kind of emotional practice that is showing your teenager that emotional self-care is really important. So that when you are saying to, like, I mean, this might be really hard for you to guess, but I emote all over the house. Like, I'm still really, I'm grieving from having lost a friend in the end of November, and supporting their family and a bunch of other personal things that aren't social media worthy. And I've got a lot of sadness right now. And I burst into tears. I just do right now. It's right under the surface. And so I don't hide any of that. And I let my kids know, like, if they're asking me something, I'll be like, you know what? I am really sorry. I am full. I'm at capacity right now, and I'm okay, but I'm not doing well enough where I can take anything more in. Can I deal with this with you tomorrow? So I set emotional boundaries. I set emotional limits that honor my emotional state. When I'm feeling flooded, my kids see me hang out on the couch. Every morning and every night I do emotional freedom technique. I use tapping. I talk about that all the time. Releasing anxiety, stress. Just going to the gym. Going to my gym is my healthcare because I'm an extrovert and I live and I work at home. So I leave the house a couple times a week to go to the gym, to be with people. That is my emotional healthcare. My girlfriends, we get together like every 3 Fridays or so. My kids see me leave the house and go to a girls' night because that's my emotional self-care. So if you aren't making time for emotional self-care, your teenager's not going to make time for emotional self-care, nor are they going to know what that is. Okay, so being as regulated as possible, emotionally regulated, not looking for perfect here. No, not looking for perfect. Being as emotionally regulated as possible, talking about emotions. I posted a video. If you want it, I can send a link to you. If you message me on Instagram at Allie Payne, hit the follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. I have a video about proven science, how to improve your emotional health and emotional connectivity in your home, which helps everyone to regulate better. It's just a quick 3-minute video, and there's a free download with it, and it's all backed by science, okay? So I can provide that to you. My kids see me, again, I'll do stretching and yoga at home some nights. So if I'm just not, I'll just do my stretching and they'll see me do that. What are you modeling from an emotional self-care perspective that you can then start to invite your teenager into? I invite my teens to come to yoga with me. They were like, oh, that's lame. And then they came because it was like a total relaxation yoga class. My youngest son fell asleep, you guys. He loved it so much he fell asleep at the end. I could hear him in his soft little snore. So cute. Anyway, he doesn't hate it anymore. But basic things like that. So in order to teach your teenager about emotional self-care, you need to lead, don't lecture. And when you lead, you need to let your teenagers in on your process. What are you doing? How are you feeling about it? What are you finding that's working? What are you not finding that's working? My oldest son has generalized anxiety and OCD tendencies. And I have, with him, we found 2 specific apps that he loves. He uses Headspace, loves that app. He also has a daily prayer time that works for him. So just supporting him in his mental health, self-care, emotional. Then there is mental health. I want to talk about mental health separately, which is why I also want to talk about like anxiety, depression, all of those things. Again, that tool that I talked about around emotional expression, in order to be able to self-advocate, to effectively express emotions, you have to be able to name them. Our brains were not born with Encyclopedia Britannica that you just get installed when you become an adult and all of a sudden you have this emotional vocabulary. That's not how it works. You have to learn it. So a mental health perspective, what does mental health care look like for you? Sometimes for me, it looks like my cup of tea and I sit on my couch and I stare out the window. And I tell my teenagers, I am not okay today. I'm safe. I'm in a safe place, but my mental health is not okay. I got too much in my plate and I just need to sit and stare out this window for a couple hours. And they're like, great. And you know, my oldest son, when he is really quite anxious and struggling, he might ask me for a ride. He has a car, he bought a car, he has a car, but his version of mental health care and safety is that if he's feeling quite riled up, but he wants to go like be with friends and be somewhere that's positive for him, he will ask me to drive him instead of driving because he just doesn't feel like driving is a safe choice. So that's how he does mental self-care. So where do you go? Like for me, again, going out with my girlfriends, that's also mental care, mental self-care. Napping is mental self-care for me. Just laying down with my eyes closed. I do breathing techniques. I use a lot of box breathing and all things I have little videos on if you're looking for them. As said, we're very open about mental health in my house, about what our brains are telling us, because what our brains are telling us is not necessarily the truth. Our brain has like 40 to 60,000 unconscious thoughts a day, but our prefrontal cortex intellectual brain can only process 8 to 10,000 of those. So choose wisely. And you know, if we're really stressed, we ask for help. Do you model asking for help? Do you model asking for help and accepting help? There's probably no greater self-care permission. And Dr. Brené Brown talks about this. Be wary of friends who never receive help. Be wary of the friend who can only give help. Because a real relationship is based on vulnerability and courage, and it takes vulnerability and courage to ask for help. So we ask for help in our house. I'm not doing well today. I need you to do grocery shopping this weekend. And again, my teens are older. They're adult. Actually, my oldest is an adult. And so I'll say, I need you to do grocery shopping this weekend. I'm not okay. I need less. So we model asking for help. We model talking about feeling really anxious. I have a little video, H. Michelle. If you want to message me on Instagram at Allie Payne, I can send it to you. It's my 4 tips for reducing anxiety that I can show you. I basically do tapping here, and teenagers can do this because it's really they can like put their hand in their lap or under their desk at school. The science behind this is it's an acupressure point that helps to calm your amygdala and lower cortisol in your body. So it is calming to your body. And I use box breathing. In for 4 counts through the nose, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And teenagers love doing this when they can draw at the same time. They can count and draw. So it has a physiology to it as well. And then there's legs up the wall is my yoga move, and I can send you that as well. The point is we have to talk about it and model and lead it rather than lecture our teenagers about doing it. Now, I want to talk for a quick sec about social media, and then I'm going to sign off. Social media phone time is an escape, but it is not actually self-care. It is an escape, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, I've had a really busy day and I just want some brain candy and I'll give myself half an hour on social media. Like, great, that's fine. No judgment. But it has been proven that that is not rest. Television, movies, social media, phone time, that is not rest. It continues to have your brain operate at a faster pace than a necessary rest and digest state where your body can truly begin to recover or heal, even if it's just 5 minutes. Even if it's just, I'm taking 5 minutes out for yourself, okay? So the key to getting your teenager to take care of their body, lead it, don't lecture it. Let them in on your journey and your process, what you're learning and how you're feeling, and always invite them if they want to join in, if that's possible. Healthy food. Lead it, don't lecture it. Involve your kids in some grocery shopping or making a meal plan or helping to cook so that they understand balanced food. Now I'm going to say this. I have a teenager who literally is afraid of fruits and vegetables. Like literally. It got so bad in our house that we couldn't sit at the table while he was trying to eat them because he would gag and puke. That's how much he hates fruits and vegetables. For real. So we had to work with it and find a way. We finally got, my kids both had severe texture issues. So he finally got to where he would have a smoothie. Finally. Well, we tried for years. He finally got to where he would have a smoothie. That's his responsibility. So we can eat at the table. He just doesn't have fruits and vegetables on his plate, but he's got a lot in his smoothie every day. So we go that route. It doesn't mean that your child is going to become like this picture of health, of physical health, and love sports and like love salads and like, we're not going there. We're going for a balanced approach to health. Sorry, I forgot to say one thing. We're going for a balanced approach to health that is sustainable and not shameable. Sustainable, not shameable. So we're not shaming them if they choose something different. You're going to continue to encourage and invite them into another way without shaming them when they don't. Okay? I want to talk about sleep. If you are always exhausted and you are not making time to get yourself enough sleep, your teenager never will either. Now, having said that, I have a whole other video about teenagers and sleep and their circadian rhythm shift and what happens in their brain. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but teenagers their circadian rhythm changes up to 2 hours. So if you had a child who went to bed at 9:30, they can barely get to sleep by 11:30. That doesn't make them wrong or bad or lazy or irresponsible. That is a function of their changing brain and the rate at which their melatonin naturally rises compared to adults, okay? So, but if your teenager's staying up all night long and then they can't function the next day, then you can have conversations about how does your body feel when you're tired? How does your body feel? How does your brain feel? Because if you are lecturing them, which I hear all the time, is they're not getting enough sleep and they're constantly tired, but it's not going to work. They're going to just shut you out. They're not listening. Teenagers don't need to be talked at or lectured anymore. Okay? They want to be equipped and empowered. So even though your teenager just naturally stays up later and unfortunately generally has to get up for school way too early based on their circadian rhythm, so they're always tired, how is it that you can then support them to maybe have a nap? In the video that I did, which I'm not going to get into, I talked about ways to support better sleep habits, knowing that they have to stay up later and they have a hard time going to bed earlier. So if you're looking for that, you can message me at Ali Payne on Instagram and I can get that to you as well, or here on YouTube. Just send me a message. But again, what are you doing with your sleep? Are you going to bed on time? Are you going to bed at a reasonable time? Do you stay up ridiculously late and then complain that you're tired all the time? Because if you do, your teenager is not going to manage their own physical health with sleep in an effective way. Do you take time for a nap on a weekend or do you rest? Are you resting in a way that works for you? Because when your teenager sees you rest in a way that works for you, they might also be encouraged to rest in a way that works for them. Other fun things of self-care can look a lot of different ways. They don't have to be expensive. I'm not going to go into detail, but maybe it's like masks and like a bath, or maybe it is going for a walk, or maybe it's going for a bike ride. Some people, self-care is very active. For some people, self-care is really resting. It depends. The question is, because the whole point of this is getting your teenager to create body awareness. What does your body need right now? What is your body telling you? What is your brain telling you that it needs right now? And when you start leading the charge and playing this game with your teenager, you are modeling a version of self-care that is far more sustainable than you lecturing your teenager about what they're not doing and what you want them to do. Okay? So you start, then you invite, and they can choose to play along or not, but that's not the point. You need to keep leading the way. I hope this has been helpful for you. I am actually going to, in March, I'm going to be doing a call in my private parenting group with a pediatrician, and we're going to talk about teenagers eating and sleep and things like that. So stay tuned for more information so that you can get in on that live call coming up. I am not going to be here next week, so I will catch you, I believe, March 11th or 12th. I will be back here on Instagram live covering all things teens. And if there's a topic that you want me to cover, let me know. Send me a DM. I would love to know, and I will be part of supporting you in any way I possibly can. Thank you again so much for joining me. If you're on Instagram, hit the follow. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. And always more resources via the link in my bio or on my website, alipayne.com. Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing couple weeks. I'll see you when I get back. Bye.